Hello and welcome to another episode of the Appelboom Bites podcast. Today's episode number 70 already, and I'm in a completely different location, as you might see if you're joining this live session right now or you're watching this on YouTube. It is because of Founder Pen Day. We had a lot of orders coming in, and my usual studio, so to say, to record a podcast is now taken over by our nib specialist, Annabelle Hiller, and she's performing a lot of nib works on your orders. So thank you so much. Let me introduce our co-host first, because it is the one and only Douglas Rathbun, aka
Uh,
Inquiring Minds. Welcome on the show, Doug. How are you?
the sun isn't even up yet. Joost, you got me out of bed well before my usual time of about noon. Frank and I were having a wonderful discussion just before we went live about the joys of being retired. And one of those joys is not waking up with the alarm, rolling over and going back to sleep. So it is 8 a.m. here. I haven't woken up at 8 a.m. in months and months, let's say. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Joost, for having me. And hello, Frank.
I'm
Good
really
to see
jealous. I'm really jealous. I'm really
I
jealous.
highly recommend retirement. You can do things like collect pens and collect guitars.
Wow. We're going to talk about the guitars later on in the show. But first, let me introduce our guest for today. Because we have a very special guest. We have the former managing director of Pilot Namiki of Belgium, the Netherlands, and also Luxembourg, I think. Is that correct, Frank?
Yeah, that's correct.
So you're now retired for 1.5 years, but we pulled you out of your retirement just for this podcast. So thank you so much. Well, we're going to just talk a little bit about some beautiful pens of Pilot and Namiki, and I know that you know a lot of them about it. So yeah, that should be okay, I think.
Yep.
If anybody in the comment section has a question for anybody of us, please feel free to ask them, and well, we will discuss it. So let's start right away with our pen check. Doug, would you like to start with your pen check, please?
The pen check.
Well, since Frank is here from Pilot, I ran around my house and gathered up all of the Pilot pens that I have. I even stole a couple from my wife's desk. She said, I want that back. I'm using it right now. And so I decided to look at all of the pens I have and just do a quick rundown. The Pilot Petite one. We have a Pilot Plumix. We're going up the food chain here. We have a Pilot Kakuno. I really like the little Kakuno. That's great. And we have the ubiquitous Pilot Metropolitan. We have what I think is the best entry-level fountain pen in the world, the Pilot Explorer. We have the ever-present Pilot Vanishing Point, or capless, as you say in Europe. We have a Pilot Custom 74. This is my wife's cherished possession. And I borrowed a wonderful Pilot from my friend Murray. This is a Pilot Justice, and I have not used this pen yet. Well, I've written with it a bit, but I'm doing a review of this week. But
oh, wow, that's really cool.
My Pilot that I love and is one of the top 3 of my entire collection is my Pilot E95S, or the Elite, as they call it in Japan. And this was a Christmas present from my wife 4 years ago, and it is the most sleek, gorgeous looking, and unbelievably smooth fountain pen I've ever written with. It is a Pilot medium, smooth, beautiful. Just from a point of view of capping and uncapping this pen is a sublime experience. I urge you, if you haven't got one of these, folks, go get one. Get your loved ones to buy you one for the lucrative gift-giving season, because it is awesome. You heard it here first. My pen check is
it's
my
a really
E95S.
nice pen indeed.
It is fabulous.
It's a really beautiful piece, the E95. Unfortunately, we don't have it here in Europe. Still pushing Pilot every day to some way get it over here.
I have a question for Frank about that too. I have a question later.
Yeah, we're gonna ask him that later. All right, thank you so much for your pen check, Doc. Here I make plans. The Elite 95S is my absolute two. So a lot of people love it as well. Frank, what is your pen check for today? What fountain pen do you write with during your
Well,
retirement?
I during my career changed pens well nearly every month. Always having 4 or 5 fountain pens on my desk. During my retirements, I write a little bit less, I might say,
Mhm.
but one of my favorites is the capless LS. It's the vanishing point, but the newer silent system. You don't hear it click anymore, so it's amazing. And I put in a flexible fine nib, which makes it very comfy. And then it will amaze Doc. Oh, here's my camera. I also have, and that's what I use all the time. I have a Justice, and the most thing that I like in the Justice is the writing quality because you can change if you want more flexibility or less flexibility. It's really up to you. If you want to make a review out of it, you just have to look the YouTube film. There is an amazing drawing of Johann Sebastian Bach made with the Justice and just adjusted the lines to make from larger and thinner lines. It's amazing. And then top of the bill of the Pilot range, and I know that overseas they easily call Namiki and Pilot in the same thing. Namiki is Pilot in States, not in Europe. We clearly separate Pilot and Namiki, but the top of the bill of Pilot is the custom Urushi, which is in fact the same Urushi technique, lacquer technique applied on the pen. But the reason I'm loving it is because of the nib. It's a size 30 nib. It's huge. So it makes it very flexible. It's an 18K and it's very flexible to write with. It's very smooth. I'm using it in a medium nib, but if you compare it with some other brands, you easily got a B nib size of writing,
Mhm.
but very flexible. And I think you can make artwork with it. It's a nice pen to write with. It's not given, but okay, as a Christmas gift, you have to go deep in your pockets.
Definitely, definitely. If you really love somebody, then that's a amazing Christmas gift
Yeah.
to get. Wonderful pen check, thank you, Frank. Let's have a look at my pen check. I really had to look for a Pilot pen in the store today because during Fountain Pen Day, I don't know what people did, but they kind of plundered the entire store. We barely have any pens left, so of course it's a good sign. But on the other hand, yeah, I don't have any pens here. No, I'm just kidding. I have still one here. I don't know if the camera picks it up. Is the Pilot Vanishing Point or capless in this beautiful blue. I really love this material. And Annabelle's here in the store. She's also writing with the Vanishing Point Wish. So she's writing with the Vanishing Point Wish, but she's always using a Vanishing Point. So she kind of inspired me to grab this pen, and I just really love it because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful pen. It's a beautiful nib. Especially the nib is quite special. But also the clicking mechanism makes it quite comfortable to use, especially on those busy days after Fountain Pen Day. It's quite comfortable to have a pen that you can activate with one hand, and in the other hand you have like a tons of pens and inks and stationery in your hand to ship around the world. So we're really happy with that. Oh yeah, what's the name of this barrel again, Frank? You know that?
Well, it's a carbon fiber look, but it's lacquer, in fact.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a blue one. Wait,
yeah.
I don't recall it, but I
You
will find
you
it
have
out.
it in you have it in white. You have it in black. You even had it as a limited edition in green. It
Oh
was
wow.
really the English racing green. It was,
Hmm.
but it was limited. So think
It's not
that
there anymore.
nobody has some stock anymore.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for the pen checks. Let's start with this podcast. Sorry, with a question from our previous guest, which was Kerry Yeager, Mr. Fountain Pen Day himself. If you haven't checked out that episode, make sure to do that because it was a lot of fun. It was prior to the Fountain Pen Day, so we talked a lot about Fountain Pen Day itself, but also about Kerry in general because he made a career switch. So go check it out. Well, his question for you, Frank, was quite a long question, so prepare yourself. If you would give your grandmother any pen to write you a letter with, what pen would it be and why that pen?
Well, seeing my age, if my grandmother was writing something, it would be really with not with a fountain pen, but really with a pen and some ink bottle, because I'm already going to my 67th. So my grandmother surely would have a certain age. Even my parents are not living anymore. So when
No,
you're
but
60,
his question was mainly about the meaning about certain pens. So we were talking a little bit like the emotions behind pens. That's also important.
yeah. Well, I think that in those days, most of the people were writing with ink because the ballpoint pen wasn't even in those days invented yet. Well, might be mistaken because it was a certain Mr. Biro who invented the ballpoint pen. But I think that most of the people in those days were writing with either a pencil or even ink with just a nib, not with a feather, because that's a story. Okay, the first ones were feathers, but even when I went to school in the early days, I wrote with ink. We were obliged to write with ink with just a wooden stick and a steel nib on it that you could change.
Now I feel very young.
I think so. You could be our son, I think.
Yeah, if you want
Most
to feel
likely,
young,
yes.
hang out. If you want to feel young, hang out with old people. That always works.
With retired people. Wow.
With retired people. Sorry, we're not allowed to say old anymore.
Yeah.
No, not all. Look, Annabelle, there isn't a day I don't have at least 3 Pilot pens inked. She's definitely a Pilot pen. We just had a little discussion over there in the store. Now she occupied my studio. So, Annabelle, thank you for that. And she was saying, I was telling her, like, hey, we're going to have this conversation about Pilot with Frank, the old managing director, blah, blah, blah. And she said, oh, Pilot, that's like my favorite brand. They make the best nibs in the world. So she's our nib specialist. So she definitely knows what is good and what isn't. And she was just really, really happy. She also had a question about that. Because what is the philosophy of Pilot behind all these many nib options? Because nowadays, a lot of brands have extra fine, medium, broad, but if you're lucky, they have a double broad, maybe. But Pilot, they have like 100 nib options. What is their philosophy behind this?
Well, not always available in Europe, unfortunately. But Pilot has a general philosophy for all writing instrument because Pilot makes it all. It starts with the cheapest way, and I'm glad that Doug showed in fact a couple of
evolution
coming from cheap up to more expensive. But the philosophy behind for Pilot has always been what are the needs of the people. We make a study of the market. We make a study of what are the needs for the people, and in function of the needs, we adapt our productions. And that's why we came up worldwide with all that different kind of types of nibs. If you go regularly in a normal pen shop in Belgium or Netherlands, you will have the choice in between 4 or 5 nib sizes max, and then you have the specialists like Appelboom. May I say, may we make some publicity? Yeah,
Of course.
Appelboom has some more options, and then in fact, when you have a nib specialist, you can adapt your nibs, and yeah, because I personally, and I worked for Pilot for 25 years, and before that, and that should interest Doc as well, I was sales and marketing director of Stadler, which is in fact another writing company.
That was my brand.
Yeah. So, but really over there, that we had quite a lot of writing instruments, but they made something and they pushed it into the market. Changed a little bit, but nowadays it changed a little bit, and you have to see what's the need of the population. But it's
well,
not,
Frank, I can tell you what the need is in Europe. The need in Europe right now is to get the Pilot E95S coming to Europe.
Well,
no.
I don't have a lot of influence anymore, so I've taken that decision. I retire, and I'm completely out.
You're completely right. You're completely right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
but talking about that, a lot of people were asking that in the beginning already. Here it is, the question from Nambi. Why don't Pilot introduce different colors in the Western market? We see only black color versions for pens like the Custom 47, 823, 912, etc. Well, that's a little bit of a big issue with Pilot, or not issue, but it's a main topic that there are 3 large markets: Japan, Europe, and Northern America. And in each and every market, there are different pens available which are not available in the other markets, and everybody is calling their pen friends in the different areas like, hey, can you ship it to me? Why not make it available worldwide, Frank?
Well, that's not a question that you should ask me, because I was really asking to the Japanese guys, please give us more pens, please give us more. But okay, they refused, and they say, okay, that those colors are for that market, those colors are for that market. Okay, if you look at the complete catalog of fountain pens available from Pilot, you should be amazed. It's incredible. It's really incredible. And at least 50% of those products you won't sell in Europe, because you say, I don't like it, it's not for our market. So they make products for certain markets. Once again, in the philosophy that I explained already. So if they have a philosophy, what's the need for market X or Z? They make it available for those markets. And yes, the force of the internet is that we are all aware what's available on the other side. 25 years ago, we didn't know. But now, with a click, we know everything. And that's a difficulty, not only for Pilot Namiki, but for all the brands. Because I can assure you, and I think you know it already, that most of the brands, they have products available all over the world, but not every product is available in our perimeter. It's quite different. So
it is still a topic, and we're still pushing Pilot to bring us the pens that everybody wants. Okay, you already mentioned it a little bit. So Pilot and Namiki in the US, it's kind of like
Yeah.
one situation, but here in Europe, it's two different. Can I say groups? No, it's not really different groups, but different segments. It's really marketed in two different ways. Can you tell a little bit about that, Frank?
Well, in US, they always considered that Pilot and Namiki, it's one and the same thing.
Hmm.
In Europe, in fact, it's the same thing as well. It's the same company, it's the same Pilot company, but we have two different segments. We have the segment of the common writing, let's say, uh, starting with the erasable pen, the friction. Uh, and then we have the upper segment, the luxury uh, capless, justice, and stuff like that. And then we have the real outstanding brand, that's Namiki.
Hmm.
And people in Europe don't always make the liaison in between the Pilot brand and the Namiki brand. We have to explain sometimes that, in fact, the basis of the basics of Pilot is Namiki. The founder in 1918 was a certain Mr. Namiki. So it's a family name. Yeah? It was a naval engineer who started off. Um, we always like to say that Pilot found his roots in 1918. It's nearly good. It was, in fact, in 1915 that a certain Mr. Namiki started off producing pens, handcrafted. So one by one. And in fact, in 1918, he came together with his friend, a certain Mr. Wada, and they created the Namiki Manufacturing Company. And the Namiki Manufacturing Company started creating pens. Story behind that is that it were two naval engineers, and they had on one side problems with the nibs because the salty water of the sea made the pen nibs very rusty. So they looked for
Hmm.
something that could replace the nibs or could alter the nibs. And then they saw that the ebonite of the pens, ebonite, which is a very good material, that the ebonite was altered as well by the daylight, by the seawater. So they didn't have a good material for a long term. So they started creating something in 1918, and in fact, they started in 24 or 25 to put lacquer on the ebonite. And that was, in fact, the basis of what we know right now, the maquillage technique that are used in the Namiki pens.
Oh
So
wow.
they started off with the lacquer, a lacquer who mainly comes from, as they call it, the sumac, the lacquer tree in Japan. It's an Asian tree. It's some kinds of oily substance which which they make coloring by pigment, and then they can color, they can lacquer the pens. Okay, it isn't easy like that, but it comes in different layers. You have to build it up, but that's in fact the basis of what we know right now as the artworks of Namiki pens. Later on, they started with the artist groups, the Kokokai, which still exist. They created these groups, and every artist has a long way to go before he can call him an artist of the Kokokai group. And what's amazing is that every pen produced from Namiki is signed. There is signature on it, and you can even the names are put on the internet, so you can even see which artist or which group of artists has made your pen. So One pen takes a couple of weeks / a couple of months, depending on the difficulty of the design that's on the pen. But on one pen, mostly are 4 artists that are working on the pen, and it's really 100% handcrafted. That's why there's a long
Oh,
delivery time. And yeah, okay. Yeah, when it's a machine that it's running, you can let it run overnight. But an artist, well, it can work. It can do this work only a couple of hours a day, because it's mind blowing. It's not that easy. So yeah,
Yeah, it's really impressive. It's really impressive what they do.
yeah, of course.
And you have to really feel an Urushi pen in your hands.
Yeah.
You know, photos really don't do them justice. You have to hold them in your hands.
Yeah.
It's the combination of the Urushi lacquer and the many layers of that Urushi lacquer on the ebonite and the warmth of the ebonite in your hand. It's really quite a unique experience to hold an Urushi pen in your hands.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah, no, it's a really special feeling. Yeah,
And
because that would be my next question. Like we have some customers coming in sometimes and asking me like, okay, but why is Urushi so much more expensive? While I can also get some other lacquers. Frank, can you explain that a little bit? Because I can tell it 100 times and people don't believe me.
Well, Urushi lacquer, it comes from the tree, so it takes a long process already for the tree to produce the liquid that comes out. It's a kind of oil, and it's not by liters and liters. It's really it are small recipients that are filled up, and that's the basis for the lacquer. Then to apply the Urushi lacquer, it's not in one layer, it's not in 2 layers, it's in different layers, depending on the difficulty. When you have an unicolor like this one, I think it's 4 or 5 layers. So they put a layer on it, they polish it, they put a layer on it, they polish it, they put a layer on it, they polish it. So only that one, that cost already 3 weeks to produce. Only to put the lacquer on it, because the lacquer has to dry in the correct humidity, in the correct temperature, in the correct atmosphere. It's not like, okay, it has to be a quickie. We dry it with an air dryer and it's done. No, it doesn't work like that. So it takes quite a long time, and it's handcrafted. It's not sprayed on it. It's really lacquered by a physical person, and it takes time. And time costs money. So
definitely. But eventually it is really worth it.
It's really worth it,
Doug?
because a pen like this, you can expose it in the sunlight, and even after 20 years, you won't see the change of the color.
Yeah, especially red.
Try to do that with another one.
Yeah. Red, as everybody knows, goes away in the sunlight very quickly.
Yeah.
So to have a red pen last for years and years and years is quite extraordinary.
Yeah.
You know, with the
it is
very little amount of oil that you get out of those Japanese trees for the Urushi lacquer, it's that stuff is worth as much as Canadian maple syrup is. So I'm wondering whether Canadians can start coating their pens with maple syrup. Might be kind of a sticky experience, but
it might be interesting.
But it's the same kind of thing.
Maybe
it's
you
like
can
gold
start
coming out of these trees.
Yeah.
I had a question
Doug,
for
the
Frank.
maple syrup artist. I like that.
Yeah. It's a sticky business. I had a question for Frank that was along these lines, especially about we're talking about fountain pens with Pilot and Namiki and all the different levels of fountain pens that there are with Pilot. But many companies have multiple different writing instruments in their inventories, in their manufacturing. Pilot is one that has thousands of different models of different writing instruments, from pens and pencils, ballpoints, roller balls, all kinds of things. What part of Pilot are fountain pens? Are they a small part of the enormous output from Pilot, or are they a fairly big part? Because many companies that are out there, fountain pens are actually very small. I'm thinking of like Pelican. I'm thinking that fountain pens are actually a smaller part of their entire business.
It's a small part.
Oh God, we're a very small community.
don't let me put a percentage on it, because I may be wrong, but it's a small part. But okay, it goes hand in hand with some other activities, because Pilot is known as a writing instrument manufacturer, but we have quite a lot of other activities in the world as well. Pilot is one of the major companies in Japan producing golden jewelry.
Oh, there you go.
Well, you know, it's really easy. If you are able to make a nib in pure gold, you're able to make earrings in pure gold. But also there, Joost, they are not sellable in Europe. I've got a pair. Not I've got a pair. My wife has got a pair.
That, I wondered.
Yeah, that
look good on you, Frank.
Yeah, that they offer me. But even my wife says, "Okay, it's nice, but I'm not gonna wear them, because it's another taste, it's another culture. They live other ways than we do." So yeah. But to answer your question, Doug, fountain pens are a small part of the business. Well, if we're talking about the friction pen, for instance, it's billion business all over the world. So
yeah. I figured.
Gingery is mentioning that I'm always happy that Pilot has an extensive array of popular products, so their fountain pens will continue to be available despite fluctuations in demand. So that's definitely a good thing about Pilot also producing jewelry, which I wasn't aware of. So, but unfortunately, we cannot have them. So, yeah, don't ask me.
Well,
right. We have to start talking a little bit about some new products that are launching at the Appelboom website and which also came into the store.
New products.
Of course, last weekend was also Halloween. So the first one that I need to show off is this one, King of the Night from Esterbrook, with this beautiful packaging. It's a really nice packaging, really nice done. And we have it here. With a lot of things inside there, but the most important thing, what I really like, is this beautiful cape, which has a magnetic closing system.
Wow, there's a bat.
And then you can have the pen inside. So here you have the pen inside. This is the King of Pens from Esterbrook. It's a really nice piece, as you can see here. Beautiful.
Is that an oversized SD? That's an oversized SD.
No, it's a regular size. It's a regular size.
Okay.
I just have really small hands. I have really small hands, Doc. So
me too.
This is the regular size. And it has, of course, I don't know if the camera picks up, but it has, of course, the Esterbrook nib on it, and the material is just stunning. We're almost selling out. We only have 8 pieces left. So after that, it's gone because it's already sold out with Esterbrook. So if you want to have it, be quick or be silenced forever.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on
another
your
pen
website
that just
right now.
came into the store and was launched earlier today. Another pen that just launched and came into the store already is this beautiful set of 4. The camera picks it up. of 4 Lamy Al-star pens, and the theme of this set is, it's on the other side, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
So they make a color for each house: Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin. And also of these pens, we have just a few sets, and they are selling out really quickly. All right, Doug, what are your thoughts about these 2 new editions which are in the store?
Well, I'm just looking at them on your website because I can't see anything on your video. So I brought them up on my web browser here, and I'm taking a look at them. First of all, the Esterbrook King of Night, it's bloody beautiful. I mean, if you like bloody pens,
It's beautiful. Right?
it really has that dried blood kind of look to it. So it's very wonderful for the Halloween theme. I got myself a Bennu Dracula for Halloween this year, and it's a bloody great writer as well.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Too.
Now I'm looking at the Harry
definitely.
Potter series, and I have a question. Who's Harry Potter?
hmm
Does anybody know who Harry Potter is?
I don't
Is he
know.
a famous person? Yeah. So
It's kind of a famous
you're
person.
kind of a famous person. So yeah, the fountain pen companies love to play to people's likes and fandom. And if you're a Harry Potter fan, that collection, and I'm looking at the price of that collection, and that's incredible. I thought it would be in the hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but for a collection like that, but it's actually quite reasonable, isn't it? What is it, about $150 US,
it's a
something
really
like
nice
that?
Well,
price.
I think it's based on the Lamy Safari, no? So
Oh, yeah,
it's not.
it's
It's
an
not
all-star.
Oh,
really.
it's the All-Star.
It's the All-Star, the metal one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
but you
It's
don't know
got a
Harry.
metallic.
You don't know Harry Potter in Canada?
Oh yeah, when I said who's Harry Potter, my wife laughed in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Harry Potter. I'm just not a big fan.
Did you read the
Well-
books? Did you read the book,
No.
Doug?
No.
Well,
No?
we are from another age. I think that Doc must have read G.R. Tolkien.
Oh yeah, well, I read Tolkien
The
when
Lord-
I was in high
The
school.
Lord of the Rings.
We're of ages, Frank.
Yeah,
we're the
sure.
same age. So yeah, when everybody was reading The Hobbit and everybody was learning Runish language, so
Yeah.
I get the allure of the entire fantasy world of Harry Potter. And it was funny on the internet a few years ago. Someone was called out for complaining that J.R. Tolkien stole from what's her name, whoever wrote Harry Potter. How dare they steal her Harry Potter stuff and write it into the Lord of the Rings? Yeah, I think Lord of the Rings came slightly before Harry
little
Potter,
bit,
just
yeah.
slightly, just a few decades. Yeah, so we were all steeped in that lore back then.
It's always a love fight, but I always appreciate if some beautiful things are made, and I think that Lamy did an amazing job on this. The pens can be bought in a complete set, but you can also have the pens separately. So if you're really a fan of a certain
that's good to
house,
know.
so let's say Ravenclaw, you can.
And maybe you
can
didn't
just
see
have
it
that
in
pen
the
as well.
in the video very clearly, but on the website you can see the top finial of each one of those all-stars has the different house crests on it. So Hufflepuff
Wait, let
and
me show
Gryffindor
that.
and
Let me
Slytherin
show
and
that.
all that.
Hmm.
Yeah, the
Okay.
very ends, the top finials have those crests on them. So, and it's under a dome of acrylic, so they're not ordinary all-stars, and they're quite lovely metallic colors.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm not so good in this, but you can see the photos on the website. Go
Yeah,
check
on the
them out.
website.
Those are really beautiful gifts for the gifting season as well. So if you have some people that need a gift, this is a beautiful one. All right. Last one that I need to announce is the Sailor Dried Flower. It's a new series of Sailor. It's only available overseas. So you can buy them with us, for example. It's based on 4 dried flowers, and then now you're going to ask me like, okay, what 4 flowers? We don't have the pens here in the store yet. I remember one of them is the mimosa, because that's
I
also
have
the
them
name of a
listed
certain
here on your
drink. So
website.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
oh
So
look,
there's
what would I be
there
without you,
there
Doug?
you go. Well, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to support you, Joost. I'm doing all the background
Thank
work.
you.
And
Appreciate
Annabelle's
it.
there watching as well. Get back to work, Annabelle.
Yeah.
There's hydrangea, lavender, mimosa. I thought that was a drink. And pink rose are the 4 colors that
Yeah,
are
me too.
available. Very nice.
Yeah, those are really nice. Those are really nice. And the last thing that I need to announce, I just got that information in just yet, and I officially cannot show it because the photos cannot be online, but they will be online in about 7 hours. There are coming 2 new Kawecos. One of them is the collection All Sport, so the aluminum sport in Olivine, which is a beautiful, beautiful green with gold colored metal details. And the other one is a pen that people are waiting for so long. So last year, Kaweco launched the aluminium sport with a piston felling mechanism.
Hmm. Got one.
And now they also launched the classic sport, so the plastic version, also with that
Whoa,
piston
with a
filling
piston.
mechanism.
Very
Yeah. So
interesting.
that's something that a lot of people were looking forward to. The price point will be around 75 euros, something like that. And that's including VAT. So Dutch VAT of 21%. So yeah, really happy with the Piston
So that's
Kaweco
a
Sport.
little bit less expensive than the metal version of the piston, or are
Well,
they the
it's
same price? Around the same price?
no. I think it's half the price of the
That's what I
aluminum
thought. It would
version.
be a
It's more or
little less expensive than the
yeah,
metal version. Yeah.
yeah. So it's more affordable. It's definitely more affordable. All right.
Cool.
But you can find the photos of those pens in 7 hours after that we are live right now. But most likely, if this video is uploaded, you can check them out.
I'm going to set my
Set your
timer.
alarm.
Can't wait.
Excellent. All right, Doug, do you have a question? Do you have a question for Frank?
Yeah, I have a number of questions, and most of them were asked by viewers. Saying, "Oh, there's one question down. There's another question down." So let me look through. Oh, yes. Now that Frank is retired from Pilot, he can talk about Pilot in ways that Pilot won't officially talk about. So I'm wondering, and I know a lot of my viewers are wondering too, what is Pilot's attitude concerning the copies of the capless and the Vanishing Point by Majon the A1 or by Jinhao the Jinhao 10, which are almost exact copies of those famous pens? Are they at all perturbed? Are they at all concerned? Or does it, their sales just obliterate everything that comes out of the copies from China?
Well, we don't have to look only to the copies of capless, but we can look to copies in general. And the most copied product for us is the friction pen. Obviously,
interesting.
it's a million business,
Yep.
and we have worldwide round about 10 people that are day by day active in looking on the websites for copy products. There are two lawyers behind them, and if we find copies, we stop them completely. But as you know, if you have copies on Amazon or eBay or what other site, you stop them today legally. Tomorrow they are there again under another name. So that's not an easy thing to do. But for the story, we used to go with a group of people to the Frankfurt Fair, who in those days was one of the major fairs worldwide for writing and paperwork in general. And a group of people off Pilot was going to every booth to look if there were copies present. If there were copies present, we close down the boot. As easy as. But okay, that's the only thing you can do. If the day after they start with a new company and they come back with the same products, it's not that easy.
And do it all over again.
But the Pilot is very concerned and very active in order to try to stop everything that is copied and parallel market and stuff like that.
So we're talking about companies like Majon and Jinhao in China making, you could say, homage or pens that are like the original. They're not exact, but there are companies out there, mostly in China, that are copying, not just copying, but they're faking these pens. So you're making a distinction between fakes and copies, or are you just, is Pilot just concerned about people selling a Pilot Vanishing Point with the Pilot name on it that wasn't made by Pilot or a fake? Or are they concerned about a Jinhao 10 being on someone's stand?
Even products that are lookalikes, we try to stop them down.
So you're aggressive, and
it's not always easy, because the guys who are doing it are smart guys. But no, Pilot is very active to try to stop them down.
Because the vagaries of international copyright law, if anybody gets into the morass of legalese around the world about trying to enforce international intellectual property copyright laws, it's you got teams of lawyers working on that kind of stuff. It's not easy. So as you say, you're not going to stop at all, but it's good to know that Pilot is putting up a fight anyway, and not just saying, oh, well, let them do it.
No, it's definitely a fight, and it's a hard fight.
Yeah. And the biggest advantage to having the actual Pilot is longevity and quality. I mean, on some of these copies are very well built, but they're not made of the same materials. And a colleague of mine, Doodlebud from Vancouver, has a YouTube channel, and he disassembles all these different copies and compares them to the originals, in microscopic detail, and so look how they've cut corners here. Look how they've cut corners there. And so it's the old adage that you get what you pay for, right? The original is
So
usually...
Gingery is commenting, like, I will always buy Pilot and not copies because my dad's Pilot fountain pen with semi-hooded nib was my first fountain pen at the age of 7. So that's, of course, always very special. Pen Friends is saying, I am all for copying basic shape, but if the trim and shape are copied to such a fine degree, I am against it. So I think that's quite a clear statement. The Pen Doctor has a question for you, Frank, because the Pen Doctor wants to know, what is your first fountain pen? What was your first fountain pen?
Oh, good question. Good question.
My first fountain pen, I received it when I was 12 years. So we do, as we say in Belgium, our communion. And it was a Parker. It was a black Parker. It was a set. It used to be common in Belgium in those days, and I think in far more other countries, to give a fountain pen ballpoint set as a gift. And I still have the fountain pen in my possession. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
What
I don't have it here,
model
but
was
I
it?
still have it. Yeah.
What model was it, Frank?
Oh, I have to look it up. I don't know.
Okay. Well, it wasn't a hooded. It wasn't a Parker 51 or anything like that.
I have to look for it.
Yeah.
All right, really nice. Okay, guys, we're almost here at the end of the show already. But Frank, I would like to... yes, the time is running out, Doug. When you're having fun, it's crazy. I know it.
Let's meet again
Frank,
next week.
Frank, I need a question from you for our next guest to start the show with. So what question of you can we start the show with next week?
Well, I don't know who's the next guest, but...
No.
You won't know.
I will tell you afterwards.
Yeah,
I know.
You just can say, if you were not working for this company, because obviously you will write with the brand that you represent. If you were not working for this company, which pen should you choose?
Which pen would you choose? Well, this is a person that's not from a company. Will you introduce her, Doc, or should I say it?
You should say it. I'm responsible, but you say it.
Well,
She's
Doc is
gonna laugh.
really
She's
responsible.
watching, I'm sure.
Yeah, is she watching? Most likely.
I'm sure she is.
Our
Yeah.
our guest for next week, it is Wendy Sue, and well, we have a very special topic to discuss, right, Doc?
Mhm. Yeah, what's that topic? Remind me. I didn't get the memo.
No? Oh, okay. No, you will find out next week. But
Okay.
it will be a lot of fun. Wendy, we're going to have a lot of fun. Thank
Wendy
you so
Sue
much,
is my
Lori,
fault.
for
No.
yeah, it will be
Yeah.
fun.
No.
Lori said this was a fun conversation. Thank you so much for joining. Frank, thank you
Yeah,
for
you're welcome.
taking the time and sit together here with us. Tell a little bit more about Pilot and Namiki. It was quite
Thank you, Frank.
interesting. I learned a
That
lot.
was
I didn't know a lot of things. So I'm really happy with that. And
it was a pleasure to meet you, Frank.
people are
Thank you
asking.
very
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Frank, people are asking if you have an Instagram account. People want to follow you.
No, I don't have an Instagram account.
Oh, well, that's easy.
No.
What you can do,
But
if you want to talk with Frank, you can send a postcard. You can send it to Appelboom. I will forward it to Frank. So just the old way. If you want
Yeah.
to send him a letter, you can do that. All right.
keep
Doc,
playing
thank
your
you so
guitar,
much.
Frank.
Yeah, I still do.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Doc, thank you so
Thank you,
much
Joost.
for being my co-host. In the upcoming 5 weeks, we will see you more often, and we will dive more into the
5
guitars,
weeks.
maybe.
Oh
Because,
my.
yeah,
We're getting into
I
December
know.
then.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know
Wow.
that. I know that. But
Thank
we
you
will
so
have
much.
we
It's
have some
lovely to be here.
very special guests in the lineup. All right.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Oh, okay. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.